Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. As most folks in this part of the country would tell you, it's the dog days of summer, those hot, sultry days not fit for a dog. And dogs may hate it, but cotton loves it. And as we've seen over the past few weeks, this crop has responded in positive fashion, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. I'm Jim Stedman, Senior Editor of Cotton Grower, and as always, I'm joined by Cotton Grower Editor Frank Giles. Frank, what's new?
Oh, not too much. You know, we had our friend Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page on a couple times here on the podcast. And I know he's gone into full go mode as we probably are going to get Fred named today out in the tropics and might be looking at something here in Florida and Georgia toward the end of the weekend and early next week. So it's that time of year, things picking up. At this point, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything too significant, but you know, it's the tropics in the summer, so you always got to watch.
Anything is possible. Yeah, I've already seen some memes using Fred Flintstone as illustration for this hurricane. So he'll be stomping through your neighborhood. Hopefully not through your neighborhood anytime soon. Anyway, well, while this season's progressing with bug, weed and PGR treatments as it's heading toward cutout, we thought it'd be good to spend some time today on some new products and technologies that are coming to cotton fields near you in 2022. But before we get to that discussion, how's the crop progressing this week, Frank?
Yeah, as you said, this hot weather, cotton likes it, so things are starting to pick up. The weather across the cotton belt and in this past week really showed up in the August 9th USDA crop progress report for cotton. Squaring is now reported in 88% of the U.S. crop, up 6 percentage points in the past week, with 9 states now at or ahead of their respective 5-year averages for the week. Bowl set made another big jump, with bowls now reported in 63% of the crop. That's up 13 percentage points for the second consecutive week, but still lagging a little bit from behind the 5-year average. In all, 12 cotton states recorded double-digit percentage increases in the past week, led by Kansas up 22 points and Oklahoma up 20 points. The report also noted reports of open bowls in 5% of the open overall crop, still well below the average. However, the 3 states registered impressive initial percentages of open bowls: Arizona 30%, Mississippi 22%, and Louisiana 21%. There was also a shift to the positive side in cotton crop condition this week. The crop is now rated 65% good to excellent. That's up 5 percentage points, with 28% of the crop rated fair and only 7 rated poor to very poor. So that, the crop's setting up to be a pretty good one. And if we can get it all in and in a timely manner.
That's right. All we need to do is keep Fred and his friends away
Absolutely.
for about the next 6 to 8 weeks. And I think we'll all be in good shape. But anyway, well, thank you, Frank. And as you know, we did have a major announcement in the cotton industry back on August 2nd, when John Deere officially rolled out its new 770 series of cotton harvesters. Now, Frank, if I've done my research correctly, or at least well enough for this podcast, this is the 3rd generation of the Deere harvesters to come to market. That's following the original 7760 round module builder in 2010, and the more recent 690 series of round module builders, or round module pickers and strippers that came out in 2018. Now, I had the opportunity to talk with Christopher Murray, who is John Deere's marketing manager for cotton harvesting, prior to the announcement. And he shared a whole long list of things about these new pieces of equipment. And part of that is simply because these new harvesters, even though they may look the same, they are 75% new from the ground up. And they're based on a pretty strong platform that Deere's planned to utilize for many years. So out of this, we get 2 new harvesters, the CP770 cotton picker and the CS770 cotton stripper, both of which are designed to increase harvest efficiency and productivity. Now, Deere obviously did their research, and the design of the new harvesters is based on a lot of customer input. primarily their need to reduce harvest costs. So with that, the new CP770 picker is 5% more productive than the previous CP690. And the CS770's cotton stripper with the new 12-row folding header is up to 48% more productive than the current CS690 with the standard 8-row header. So in dryland cotton, they basically telling me that equates up to about 100 more acres that they can cover in a day with this new stripper machine. There's also an all-new cab. There's a whole new power module and options to make larger round modules on both machines. So as Chris Murray told me, about the only thing carried over from the previous machines is the green paint at this point. So just a few more details on this. The CP770 picker allows a grower to cover nearly 5 more acres a day and reduce harvesting costs by up to $1.50 per bale through reduced wrap, fuel, labor, and hauling costs. And part of that new efficiency comes from a brand new row unit that's fitted with high-speed stalk lifters and ultra-fast cotton grabbing spindles. Moving from field to field and certainly along the rural highways is going to be a little bit easier, but transport speed has gone up 18%. From 17 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour. And certainly they come with the latest and greatest technology. This new Gen 4 4600 command center that will feed data to the John Deere Operations Center. There is the JD Link connectivity and Deere's Harvest Identification Cotton Pro technology that allows use of the RFID data that will help fully trace cotton from the field through the gin to the mill and on to the retail shelf. There's also a new John Deere PowerTech engine and hydraulic power module. That's going to provide fuel efficiency up to 20% for the CP770 and up to 15% for the CS770. Hopefully while also reducing maintenance requirements and costs. The machines have an option for a load carrying extended accessory platform. Growers can order that when they order the machines if they would like to add toolboxes or fire suppression systems or other items to their harvesters. When you look at the stripper in particular, 2 headers are going to be available for this machine. A 12-row rigid header for narrow row growers and a 12-row folding header for wide row cotton production. And for transport, 2 rows on each end of the folding header will fold up basically to the same dimensions as the current CS690's 8-row header. So that should make transport relatively easy. The new stripper also includes a new 3-drum 75-inch field cleaner, provides a 2-point increase in turnout by removing more actual plant material from seed cotton in the field. So by the time it gets to the gin, it should be a little cleaner than it has been in past years. The new round module builder on both machines can actually make modules 2% larger and 5% more dense, although this traditional 90 to 94 inch size is certainly still possible. But to make these larger modules, as they explained it to me, it's not an automatic process. If the operator wants to adjust to the larger module size, a pop-up window is going to come up on the command center screen, notifying the operator to contact his gen to make sure they can handle this larger diameter module. And the operator has to confirm that information and enter it before the module size can be adjusted. So the current TamaWrap Plus that is currently being used, the yellow and the pink wrap, can also be used on the new harvesters. The wrap feeding system has been adjusted to make it a little more faster and a little more robust in order to feed wrap in all field and weather conditions. And then, of course, there's a question everybody wants to know. What's it going to cost? Well, pricing for this new CP770 and CS770 harvesters will be released in October. And customers can go to their John Deere dealers at that point and place their orders and spec out the machines for the needs that they have certainly at that time in the year. Harvester delivery then will begin in spring of 2022. So it was a big week for Deere. This was not the end of their technology advancements that were announced last week. On August 6th, Deere also signed an agreement to acquire Bear Flag Robotics, which is a Silicon Valley startup that develops autonomous driving technology compatible with existing machines. And the price tag on that was $250 million. So not only are we looking at more efficient harvesting, but we're also looking at the possibility of more autonomous equipment operation here within the next few years. So again, a big week for Deere and some exciting news for the cotton market.
Yeah, that is exciting. I'd imagine seeing that 12-row stripper in operation would be quite a sight. That's covering a lot of ground.
That's covering a lot of ground. That I think is in and of itself is why you're going to be able to cover about 100 more acres a day.
Absolutely. You know, as for the price situation, I can safely predict they probably are not going to have a layaway program on that.
No, I doubt seriously they won't. They won't. And so it's we know those have been pricey pieces of equipment. But by gosh, they've also proved their worth and value in the fields here over the last several years. So I think growers who are going in and seriously kicking the tires on this and possibly placing orders are going to go in with their eyes wide open, knowing what the price range is going to be. So anyway.
Yep.
Well, there's another technology that's been in research testing for several years, and it's currently being evaluated in on-farm tests for the first time this year. Now, we've mentioned it before. That's the ThryvOn insect control technology from Bayer that is tentatively set for market introduction in 2022. And from what we've heard, growers who have had the technology on their farms this year have certainly been excited about what they've seen so far. Well, joining us in the Cotton Companion virtual studio to provide a mid-season update on ThryvOn is our friend Keylon Gholston. He's cotton product manager for Bayer and Delta Pine, and he has probably seen about every plot containing this technology over the past several years. In fact, he's taken some time from some field visits near Tunica, Mississippi today to join us. So Keylon, thank you for joining in and welcome back to the Cotton Companion.
You bet. Thank y'all. Look forward to it.
All right. Well, first of all, I have a question for you about the crop overall this year, because I know you spend a lot of time in the field looking at the field from the Carolinas all the way to Arizona. And for the most part, we know it's running a bit behind normal this year, but it does seem to be catching up. How does it look to you right now out there?
I think we've got extremely good potential. You know, that the environment this year has just kind of been all over the board, a lot of rain, and some places getting up 20 inches or better in a week. But overall, I would say the crop looks good right now across the Mid-South. Really good fruit retention. But I will tell you that I think the crop is at least 2 weeks behind where it normally would be for the planting date. And I think that's just due to all the cloudy, wet weather that we've had. I had a fellow yesterday I was looking at cotton with, and I told him, it's 3 weeks behind. And he said, well, it looks like to me it's a month behind. I said, yeah, it is, but I didn't want to say that. A month just seems like a long time. So, but yeah, the crop's behind, but it's catching up. And with the forecast we got right now, we're getting good DD60 accumulation. So I feel good about where we are. And if we're blessed with a good September, I think we've got potential to make a really good cotton crop.
Sounds good. Well, we know there's been a lot of buzz about ThryvOn here for a couple of years. In fact, I recalled several summers ago, I was at a field day and remember an extension entomologist kind of hinting about this new technology that he had tucked away on one of his back 40 plots, but he couldn't talk about. So give us a quick overview of ThryvOn and its primary targets.
Well, this year we had the opportunity to put out stewarded trials with the NPE growers, and we also put out several stewarded groundbreaker trials with growers outside of the NPE program on larger acreage. And I have been thoroughly impressed with what I saw, especially from the the thrip standpoint, this was a wet year, wet spring across most of the Mid-South and Southeast. And of course, you had vegetation growing in the ditch banks and stuff like that early. And we just had a big thrip population, when we planted cotton and finally got cotton up. So we saw really huge thrip numbers. And I tell you, the ThryvOn varieties just came through that thrip pressure as better than expected. And I can tell you that today we're seeing differences in ThryvOn versus non-ThryvOn just due to the protection that ThryvOn gave from thrip damage, early season. Now, also, one of the things that we see is some plant bug activity with ThryvOn. And again, this has been a tough year for plant bugs. I mean, just mature plant bug migrations in biblical proportions in some places, I would say. And, what I've seen is that under low to moderate pressure, you really see ThryvOn perform extremely well. Where you've got extremely heavy pressure, like we've seen in places this year, growers are just going to have to scout just like always and spray on threshold. Now, I think the thing ThryvOn does is it certainly gives you protection 24/7 to some extent, and we don't need to spray on sub-threshold levels, but when we reach threshold, we're going to need to spray plant bugs. But I think overall, the technology is going to be a huge benefit to cotton growers. And, one of the things I hear a lot of people talk about, it saves a spraying, but if it can just increase retention by a small amount, it can add up to extra pounds of yield at the end of the year. And that's really what we're all after.
Sounds good. Are there any geographies where it's actually looked a little bit better than maybe others?
Well, I would say from a thrip perspective, pretty much across the belt, even out in West Texas, it had great activity on flea hoppers. I would say it's looked good everywhere I've seen it, east to west. On plant bugs, I like I said, if like in Mississippi, if you get over in the hill section of Mississippi where I live, we may spray for plant bugs 3 or 4 times on a bad year. And I think what we're seeing in ThryvOn in that area is that we're definitely going to save a spraying. If you get over in the heart of the Mississippi Delta where, average plant bug spray may be 8 to 10 or 12 times a year, I think you're still going to save a spraying, but you're just going to have to manage it closely based on thresholds.
Good deal. Keylon, you mentioned you're working with cooperative growers. What are they telling you in terms of what they're observing in their fields and what they think about this technology?
The grower comments have been so positive. Even when we came through the year we had this year where it was extremely wet, growers couldn't get in the field to make thrip applications, and they saw that growth difference between the ThryvOn and the non-ThryvOn. The growers were sold right then. And when you go back and you look at ThryvOn varieties that started fruiting on node 5, 6, 7, non-ThryvOn varieties started fruiting on node 8 or 9, just due to the thrip damage that happened early season, that makes a grower value that technology pretty quickly. And of course, we're still evaluating the plant bug situation, and we'll know a lot more at the end of the year from a yield perspective. But I'm enthused about what I've seen on plant bugs as well. But again, it has to be managed. It's not a standalone on plant bugs.
So I guess the big question is, what's the decision process for bringing ThryvOn onto market? And what are the chances? Is it still good that we're going to see these in some of your 2022 varieties?
Well, we've got 3 varieties right now in NPE: Delta Pine 2131 B3 TXF, 20R816 B3TXF and 20R822 B3TXF that I've been getting to evaluate in NPE plots. And I can tell you that all three of them look really strong. The 816 being an early season, more determinate type variety, I'm really thrilled with what I'm seeing out of it. The 20R822, even though it's an early mid, has a real high level of indeterminacy and just a lot of strength of terminal. It's a very different plant type than the 816, but both of them look extremely good, as does the 2131. So from a genetic standpoint, this technology is going in our newest, best germplasm. So I really look forward to seeing what yields are out of the NP plots on these ThryvOn varieties this fall.
Now you'll be making those decisions right after harvest, late November, early December?
Yeah, we'll make our advancement decisions, with the help of the NP growers. They'll be the ones that actually give us feedback and make that final decision. But yeah, that'll be made about the second week of December.
Okay. Well, Keylon, I know you're busy, and so this seems like a pretty good place to call time on this discussion. We do appreciate you for stepping out of the field and back into the air conditioning for a few minutes to join us, because I'm sure growers are looking forward to seeing this on a much broader scale and putting it to work in their fields as well.
Yeah, I think, next year, hopefully, we will be able to have larger ground breakers and certainly have ThryvOn back in NPEs. We're right now still awaiting a few key regulatory approvals, but probably be stewarded at planting next year. But certainly we hope to get a lot bigger look at the technology and the new germplasm that the technology comes in next year.
Sure. Thank you, Keylon. Appreciate your time. We'll catch up with you farther down the road.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keylon.
Cotton growers continuing to follow these and other new developments for cotton in our print issues and online at cottongrower.com. And check out the article, New Tech Breakthroughs Coming for Cotton, in our June-July issue. And watch for reports on other products and technologies in the cotton pipeline in our upcoming fall issues.
And that's it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. As always, thank you, dear listeners, for joining us. If you like what you hear on the Cotton Companion, please be sure to spread the word and tell your farmer friends about this podcast. And here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
The Cotton Companion podcast comes to you twice monthly. It's produced by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. My name's Jim Stedman. His name's Frank Giles. And we'll be back with you in 2 weeks with the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God